All right.
Awesome. Well, you guys, it looks like we are live. So thank you, gentlemen, for jumping on. I think we're still waiting for Matt Larkin, but we'll just continue on forward. How things been going, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Chris.
Good. I'm fortunate that I'm the only one really campaigning in my race right now. My opponent pretty much thinks she has it in the bag. So the Democrat in my race is not going to really campaign outside of Pierce County. It's great because that means everywhere we go outside of Pierce County, we will be the only ones, the Republicans will be the only ones seen in my race. So.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. And Marty, it was fun to be able to see you today down in Shelton. That was a fun little speed dating experience.
Yeah, interesting that it had 10 stations and 10 different candidates going from 6 minutes per station. Of course, you can't cover the entire campaign in 6 minutes, but people were really receptive and excited. And I would say that about, I'm not like Chris with one candidate. Obviously, we have 11 in our race, but the enthusiasm, as you know, has been fantastic. And when we've gone across the state, Cashmere, Quincy, and Manson, and all over Omak, people are excited that we're out. And I've seen more motivation this time around, not only because it's so bad, but people are like getting involved for the first time. So very enthusiastic. So
absolutely true. Matt, looks like you're in the car. How's
I am. It's not a commute. It's a campaign trail, Josh. I'm headed to some events coming north to Bellingham right now. So sorry, you gotta bear with the road noise.
Oh, no problem.
Trying to be as many places as I can at once.
Cool. Well, gentlemen, it's fun to be able to be on with you. It's been a good couple weeks here, just doing a few different events together. We got another week and a half to go of several different opportunities. I think our day is full tomorrow, commuting around a few. Should be super fun. But we got a bunch of people jumping online with us right now. And so for those folks that are jumping in, I'd love to encourage you to click that button and do a watch party. That way your sphere of influence, those folks that are on Facebook are going to see that you're hosting a watch party, and we can multiply the exposure that we need. So we're in the last week and a half, I think 11 days to go, gentlemen, until the primary day. And I know ballots are in people's hands. I was very surprised. I don't know if you guys have found this the same, but went to an event at a gun club a couple days ago, and Jennifer Seftik asked everyone to raise their hands who had turned in their ballot yet. Nobody. I think we had 65, 75 people there. People had not voted yet. People are really waiting, I think, because there's so many people in at least 3 of the races. Chris, lucky guy. But we got a lot in the lieutenant governor's race with Marty McClendon. We got a lot with Matt Larkin. And, of course, in mine, there's a plethora, a telephone book. But are you guys hearing the same thing? People are holding off, really trying to dig into the right decision?
Yeah, Kitsap's, I checked the Kitsap voter rolls today. I think only about 6.28% of the entire county has put their ballots in. Snohomish is not that much higher than that. So especially those population center counties where you're going to get a lot of frustrated independent voters that are not going to vote Democrat this year. We have a lot of opportunities still because people they're scared and they want to make absolutely sure they vote right in this primary.
Sure, people are doing their homework this time too. I'm hearing a lot of people doing their homework. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting calls probably 20 to 50 a day from people who I put my cell phone in the voters pamphlet, and I'm hearing from them. And they're reading the voters pamphlet and they're calling me and they're wondering what my positions are. And I feel like people are more informed than average year because there are so many.
Yeah. I'm not getting people. Don't worry. What you're seeing is a reverse reflection of Matt Larkin. He's not driving. He's got a driver, I'm sure. People are concerned right now. It's okay. But let's see. A couple people have already commented. I've voted for all of you. We got Paul Herman on here. Deb Christina says I will vote for all of you. The whole ticket. Thank you guys. Legia Vikavan said we voted for all 4 of you. I'm loving this joint unity ticket. And for me, it was just neat to be able to meet each one of you. I've met a lot of the other folks that are running. And for me, just knowing that you men are ones who love your wives, love your family, love your country, and knowing that you're committed to see that you want to turn around what's happening in Washington State. Should we each maybe take each 2 minutes, kind of say the main theme of what our campaigns are about, and then we'll take a couple questions from folks that are watching?
Sure.
Sound good? You want to start in, Marty?
Sure. Obviously 2 minutes is for anybody is short, but for those that don't know, it's about making a difference for the kids and our grandkids, not just our kids, but your kids. I mean, this is a beautiful state. We live in one of the most unique states in the nation, and basically through policy and politics, they're destroying. There's a war on family, a war on faith, a war on churches, a war on business, and we got to stop that. We need people that will advocate for you, that will honor God, that will fight for families. That's why we're doing this. And so each one of us have a different role, but I'm running for lieutenant governor because it works within the legislature and the executive to actually bring real change to education reform for the trades, fighting for families, understanding restoring families and fathers to home is so important. Actual accountability, and my background in housing and healthcare and ministry and radio, I want to work on the housing issue as well. I know Josh does, and Chris and Matt, but in my regard is streamlining the permitting process, opening up the urban growth management and that kind of stuff, so we can actually drive the cost of housing down and build in places where we want to build and not be stuck in a city. So there's many things we can do when we're elected. And what I'm really excited about is when the four of us are together, you can really see how these offices, these executive positions can work together for the betterment of our families, of our churches, of our businesses, of the state in general, and leave a better future for our kids, working with the legislature and around it as well. So that's my 2 minutes, I think.
No, that's really good. Well, you guys, we have so many more people that just said they voted for us. Adam Shetler voted for all of us. Voted for you, Matt. Wants you to know that specifically.
Oh, great. Thanks, Adam.
Adam's a good man. Then he went on to say all of us. Then Angela Ashley voted for all four of us. Deb did. Sherry, Stacy Saylor. Boy, the list keeps on going on. Deb, Gina Carlson. I love this, you guys. It continues. So, Matt, why are you in?
That's encouraging to hear all that. I'm in for similar reasons to Marty. I've got 4 little kids, and I don't want them to grow up in this state the way it's headed right now. We've had rising homelessness, drugs, and crime over the last decade, and it's getting worse every single year over year. And I'm rising up, raising my hand and saying I'm going to stop yelling at the TV and actually do something about it, because we have real issues here. In my particular race, we've got an attorney general who sued President Trump now 69 times over 3.5 years. That's insane. And it's not only that he's suing President Trump on our dollar, but it's that he's ignoring these real problems that we're dealing with. He hasn't addressed them. He won't fix them. He won't call them what they are, which is problems. And he has no plan to help. And I want my kids to grow up as proud of this state as I am. I'm a lifelong Washingtonian, and I'm proud of this state. Marty nailed it. Like, this is the most beautiful place on earth. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And I just want my children to have that same feeling about their home. And the way we're headed, they won't. And they're little, so there's still time. They're 10 years old and younger. So there's still time for us to take back this state and make a difference for them. And that's why I'm in this fight. That's why I'm running. And there's a lot of problems we need to fix here. I think all of us are running because we agree. Washington has real problems. And chasing unicorns off in D.C. isn't going to fix them. We need real leadership from, in my case, the Attorney General. He was silent through the CHOP situation. He's been silent about defending police. He's been silent about heroin injection sites. All of these real issues that affect us, our Attorney General has been silent on. Instead, he's focused on stuff that doesn't seem to matter much, like suing tuna fish manufacturers over the cost of your can of tuna. That was what he decided to put his time and effort behind during the national lockdown. He saved us.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah,
tuna.
He saved us 3 cents a can on your tuna. So good job, Bob Ferguson. Meanwhile, businesses across the state are going out of business, and people are suffering, and our communities are suffering. We can't even take our kids to the local park for a play date on a Saturday afternoon because there's too many needles and tents and crime. And My wife's worried about walking into the grocery store past sundown because she's worried about the assault that could happen. And this is the new reality for a lot of Washingtonians. So we need a law and order candidate in the Attorney General's office, and we need someone who's going to enforce the laws and clean up our cities and streets and make them safe again. And that's why I'm in. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I love hearing from you. That tuna thing, that's something new. I'm gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah, look that one up because it's a fun one to read.
Oh my goodness.
Bob's
Well,
big catch.
Mike Lehman says, we voted for all of you, the 4 Musketeers. Daniel is excited about it. Brandon as well. A lot of good things here. Tim White, thank you so much. You voted for all of us. Ellen Rounds, I put my ballot in today with all my friends, all 4 of you on my ballot. Isn't that fun? You
That's
guys,
fun.
people are looking for unity.
Fantastic.
They're looking for the ability to move our state forward when there's so much division. A lot of people are concerned about the skullduggery and the things that are hidden over 35 years of one-party control. And Chris, I'm excited about you to be in the position of auditor because you're going to be uncovering a lot of deep, dark, dirty things that have been hidden for years.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 8 offices in the executive branch of Washington state government. And right now, the Democrats alone, which is 6 of them, have over 150 years of political experience, which means they can't deny that they own everything that's happening out there right now. It's on them. There is no denial. And, my office in particular, us going into an $8 billion deficit coming up here, there's going to be a lot of tough calls to make. Josh has talked about a 25% reduction in government statewide, and that's definitely the reality we're going to face. And in that reality, we're going to have to find places that money is blatantly being wasted. And that's the great thing about my office. If the person who is your state auditor is actually doing their job, they're going to go in and they're not, we're not going to be looking for necessarily bad people, but we're going to be looking for bad processes. And in that, in that effort, we're going to be able to find a lot of wasted money and a lot of opportunity to give people relief because it's going to be, it's going to be a while before we recover. Fortunately, I do believe a V economy is very possible once we get a government in place on November 4th that actually, November 3rd, that actually wants to change things and actually wants to have our economy recover. But it's still, your government, one of the greatest things about, this ticket working together and people actually working together. Traditionally, Republicans in our state, we run on islands. We run on our own issues, and there's very little overlap. And we get beat every year on that because the Democrats, they run a slate. And they find ways to make their platforms intermingle, which it's a better value proposition, I think, for a lot of those independent voters. So that's why this, when we started all working together and bouncing ideas off each other and figuring out things like, if we were actually in charge right now, what would we be doing different? We would have the state pretty much open right now with reasonable restrictions because there are ways to do it safely. So I think the biggest thing about my campaign is the auditor's office is an extremely underutilized government oversight agency in this state. And it is going to be the single biggest way for you to go look at your state agencies, figure out what they're doing wrong and what they're wasting, and actually hold them accountable. And it'll all, for a change, for once, probably in the last decade, it'll all be open and available to you as a Washington citizen.
I love it. Well, you guys, the messages keep on coming in here. Ted Miller voting for the team. Tim White, we voted for all of you, and I posted my choices on my Facebook page. We got Ellie. I put my ballot in today. Okay, now here's a question. Looks like for me, Darlene, this is for free. The Second Amendment force you plan to implement. Will those people be appointed by you or voted in? So one thing that I've considered is a gun rights commission, that is to protect our gun rights. I know I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. My wife and I enjoy those rights each and every day. And I got an A rating from the NRA. And so what I wanted to have is a watchdog committee. Yeah, we have the Second Amendment Foundation, we have the NRA in Washington State, but I want to have even more people involved, because City of Edmonds passed Ordinance 4177 item G without anyone knowing it on a Saturday morning. And so it became law. And item G was that they could take away your gun in a state of emergency. So throughout the state of Washington, as criminals are breaking the law, the first response from socialist leaders, they say, well, we need more gun control. Well, how about enforcing the law against those people that are breaking the law 70 to 100 times each one of them? So this gun rights commission would be to defend our Second Amendment rights. All right, so we got Mark, who's voting for us as well. How about Marty? What do you think about opening up Washington State right now?
We should have opened it up already, but bottom line is this fundamental difference in opinion and ideology. The left right now, who's in control, thinks government knows what's best for your kids, whether it be education, your business, your family, your church. We on the right say, no, there's common sense ways to say, here's the protocols in place. Find an innovative way in your community, in your family, in your home, in your church to keep your customers and your family safe, and trust people to do the right thing with the right guidelines. And so we should open up. And Chris mentioned about the cuts and finding waste and fraud. We got to open this economy up. We have so much opportunity with energy, with timber, with industry, with businesses here. If we unleash, right, and actually make it easier to do business in Washington State, we'll have all the revenue we need to make up our shortfall. So it's both sides, but we got to do both. We got to be a champion about opening things up, allowing our businesses to be innovative, just like the essential businesses were. They were able to put like screens up, social distancing, one-way shopping. Soak in the rest of our private businesses as well. Open them up, get people back to work. So,
amen. Hey, Lorna is asking Matt, what thoughts of Inslee's newest mandates? Which restrictions should we lift?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, what the funny thing about that is we unfortunately gave him a great deal of latitude in that bill we passed a year or two ago, and it's kind of you get what you pay for type thing. We've given him a lot of leeway, and that's the problem. Government keeps taking and taking and taking, and they don't ever give back. We never get any of the freedoms back once you give it to them. So Inslee's overstepped. He's picked winners and losers. That's when it started to feel really uncomfortable for people. When he started saying union contractors, you're good to go. Private contractors, you cannot work. Liquor stores, you can stay open. Churches, don't even think about it. And it started to feel very odd and very uneven and very political. And that's where he went askew. And as Attorney General, he needs someone who can call him on that. He needs an independent voice who understands the law and can say, Jay, you're way out of line here. And I would say that to a Republican, and I'd say it to a Democrat. I would. We need an Attorney General who actually follows the Constitution and the rule of law. And that's how it should be. Instead, we have Bob Ferguson who's rubber stamping everything the governor does without even questioning it. Now, I do think we need to rein the powers of the governor in, and there's a great ballot that's being passed around for signatures right now. Plug for your ballot, Josh. And I hope it gets enough to get on the ballot this fall because it's a good one. But it takes some of those powers back from the governor and forces him into special session after a certain, is it 30 days, Josh? Is that what it is?
2 weeks.
So 14 days.
2 weeks.
Initiative 1114.
So,
Limits the emergency power to 2 weeks. It's great.
It caps it at 14 days. And then it mandates a special session where legislative minds are brought in.
Oh, there he goes.
Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Yeah. So Josh, Matt and I talked to a business owner today out in Shelton who was in phase 3, was planning on phase 4. The new orders basically goes, I don't know what to do. I serve alcohol. I'm considered a tavern, but I'm really a restaurant. And he goes, now, what do I do with my customers? We were on the way to phase 4. Now we can't do business or what? Oh. So it puts people in a really bind. And so customers, what do they do, right? What does a business do who is now trying to recover, is now rein back in and say, now you have to shut back down to phase 1? How does that work?
Yeah, it's insane. All right, so Aaron McLean says you've all got my votes. David Moon has voted for all of us as well, which is exciting. And we've officially lost Matt Larkin. Carrie said, voted for all of you. Let's get our state back on track. I don't want to move to Idaho. Have you heard that from a few people, Leva?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is, I personally came out against, and it was, I guess it's controversial, but I personally came out and gave my opinion against Liberty State, for example, because that is a big issue to some parts of the state. But I did it, and here's why. We're only going to go so far. I grew up in Nevada. That's where I grew up until I came up here to go to University of Washington. And Nevada, growing up, was a hard, deep red state. Other than the downtown Las Vegas corridor, it was red. Nevada's blue right now. Now, granted, it's swinging back and forth, but it's because they got complacent. And it's because once they got complacent and it started going blue, people moved. But they moved to Colorado, and now Colorado's blue. At some point, we have to put a line in the sand. People like us are stepping up here because we see that. We see that, Spokane, the downtown Spokane area is going blue. Pullman's going blue. Parts of Tri-Cities are getting a little bluer. We have to offer a value proposition that's going to get people my age and younger to realize we don't want free stuff. We want houses. We want to have families. We want to be able to afford the American dream like our parents, and grandparents post World War II could. And that is where the Republican Party has the best opportunity, because the Democrats are just going to offer free stuff. We're going to offer you the ability to have more than the bare minimum.
Man, I'm telling you, the hearts on the screen, they're raising like it's bubbles as you're speaking. People are going crazy about it. So I think you're right. The value proposition that you're talking about. So Dale Strum's all on board, you guys. He's been putting our signs up all over Spokane. He is sad because he only has 2 of Marty's signs left.
I'll have to give him more.
We'll have to get over there and hand a little bit more out. So Marty, Kelly wants to know a little bit more about some suggestions for public education. You have a lot of thoughts on that.
I do. And the bottom line is if you look at the numbers and the outcomes, we went through a period of last 3 sessions with McCleary saying the paramount duty was to fully fund education. I would have said, have an education system that prepares our kids for the future. But okay, it's fully funded. So we got $30 billion in our budget every 2 years, $15 billion a year. As a parent, as a taxpayer, I want to know what I get for that. And what we get is 20% of our kids drop out of high school before they finish. So we're losing 1 in 5 of our kids before they graduate. And then even the ones that graduate, according to the current OSPI website, 48% are at math level, for grade level for math, and 49% for grade level for science. So I'm like, okay, we're failing our kids even in the core subjects, yet we're forcing sex on them. I go, okay, what about the ones that go to college? So about a third of our high school graduates go to college. Of those, 50% drop out before they finish. Of the ones that make it all the way through with massive college debt, 54% are underemployed or unemployed in the degree they went to school for. So that system, that one size fits all, doesn't work for all. And yet we know that we have 7.1 million jobs available in the trades right now. And we have 50% of the public works workers right now are retiring in the next 5 years with no young people to take their place. These are great jobs. In fact, a certified mechanic makes $80,000 a year to $120,000 with no college education. So our 70% of the high school students that don't have options now besides go to college or find a job in the market to make a minimum wage. Let's change the Core 24 system so they have more elective choice in middle school and junior high. Allow them to take wood shop, auto shop, metal shop, get them exposed to the trades earlier on. Partner with the government and give them real world market data in their junior and senior year in high school. If you're not going to college, have parents involved and say the trades are available. There's HVAC technicians. There's all kinds of things. How can we connect these kids to the careers that actually are hiring right now that pay really well? Then there's legislation you can actually do to do public-private with the tech industry to actually build centers of excellence where our kids can go to high school and graduate with a job with Microsoft. Same thing with the trades. With they can build a center of excellence for plumbing, electrical, whatever. And high school students can go and be a journeyman when they graduate high school. Those are ideas we need to reform our education system to give our kids more choice. And when you have choice and competition, then it fills a need for business too. More businesses will come where they have a skilled labor, right? Instead of importing labor, we have our high school. That means kids can stay home. That means kids can stay in their community, invest and live in their community, raise their kids where their family was raised as well, because they don't have to leave for a job. So it's a win-win for education, and that's just a beginning of it. So.
Yeah, Shelley says the school situation is a complete mess. So Another Gina says, Matt, you're the sent one. Matt doesn't get to hear that he's the sent one. But then let's see, what do we got here? Gina says, hi, Marty McClendon, you got my vote. I love it. Let me keep on scrolling down here. We got, so somebody heard my radio ad, which is great, but how can people help us more to get the news out or get the message out? Chris, do you want to jump in on that? What are some practical ways?
So obviously with COVID-19, you know, when this whole thing started, I had 14 counties already scheduled the first week I started my campaign to go out and meet with people. And then of course they shut us down. Now, fortunately, we've been able to get out and be creative about how we've been doing it, but a lot of this year is going to come out of word of mouth. And people are looking for people they trust. Every time you have made up your mind about a candidate, they say you can actually influence 7 people. Every individual person can influence 7. Mathematically, believe it or not, if you repeat that cycle 6 times, you actually get all 4.5 million voters in Washington state if you theoretically had 100% success. And I'm gonna say one last thing on this. Here's the reason to be excited. This is gonna sound bad, but hear me out. So the last Elway crosscut poll we've done right now, a generic Democrat versus a generic Republican in a statewide race is 31 to 41. That means the Republicans have 31%, Democrats have 41%. Now that sounds bad, but let me give you some perspective on that. That is only looking at what letter is next to their name. That has no other factors attached. When you attach other factors, that goes way up and way down. And the most exciting thing about it, this state, as of 2019, 21% Republican, 41% Democrat, 38% independent. So based on that poll, which was done less than a week ago, we've already polled 10%. So basically, we've already polled a quarter of the independent vote in Washington state to the Republican Party without any other factors other than having an R next to their name. The Democrats, they haven't moved the needle a dime. So this is the year. This is the year.
That's so cool.
And why it's so important to make sure all the way down your ticket, your reps, your county commissioners, your governor, your lieutenant, all the way down. It is important because once you take those other factors into account, other than just the R, that number goes way up or way down. If you want to hit that 51% mark, you're going to have to put some value behind that R, and we can do it. And this team right here absolutely can do it.
Man, Chris, I love what you're saying, which is why Ted Miller says, go Chris Leyva, need to clean the swamp. You're the swamp cleaner. All right, Matt Larkin's in the waiting room, so hopefully our tech will help us out with that. So what can we do for veterans in Washington state? What are your thoughts, Marty?
Yeah, this is one I've campaigned on before. Many of our veterans are on a fixed income. They have to go to medical health care at the VA health center, cross tolls, whatever. We can make it easier for them. At a national level and a state level, we can actually give them options to go to their own healthcare physician in their local community. It's like a voucher system for our veterans, but really healthcare comes first. And then interconnecting. There are so many programs, the well-meaning programs, housing programs, mental health programs, you name it, veterans, but they're not connected. Oftentimes a veteran will fall through the gap in one of those. What we can do at the state level is coordinate the coordination of all those different nonprofits and those private sector ones and say, veteran A, start here. Here's all your options, and here's how to connect these from one to the other to get all the services that you deserve and you need.
I love it. Well, hey, Angela says, Lily says hi to Josh. So hi, Lily. Lily's a sweet 2-year-old girl. So sweet. Actually, a little bit older than that now. Forgive me. All right. So I think Matt's back on with us. Welcome, Matt. It's nice to see your face again.
Hey,
you
Matt.
missed somebody's comment that said, somebody said that you are the chosen one, Matt Larkin. So good for you. So Rose says she's still studying. She's still studying who can defeat Jay Inslee in November. And Rose, I believe that I'm that man, because it takes a diverse amount of experience to be able to address the myriad of failures of this governor. I have the experience that's necessary, having served on Boston City Council for 12 years. I served as mayor during a period of time of the largest revitalization of a downtown in Washington state. We desperately need economic recovery in the state of Washington. Right now, we have created an environment where it's very difficult for small businesses to start and certainly survive. We have 57,000 pages of regulations that hit small businesses right in the face once they file for opening their business. And look, the first thing that happened out of the legislature this year, Jay Inslee signed an increase to the B&O tax, further putting pressure on small businesses. So I've run my own business for 15 years. I've been involved in service around the world and served on numerous different boards here locally, whether it's the King County Mental Health Advisory Board or let's see, Eastside Transportation Partnership, Puget Sound Regional Council Economic Development Committee, and so on. There's nobody else in this race for governor that has the depth of experience, having managed a city of 47,000 people and, you know, big police force, big firefighter force as well. We are unified in the city of Bothell. We have the greatest revitalization. That's something that I want to replicate in the state of Washington by pulling people to the table. It's not going to take a powerful, well-connected lobbyist to get you that seat. If you're a Washington citizen, I want to hear from you, which is why I'm going to open up a few offices around the state called the Regional Offices of the Governor. But let me, I appreciate the question. I'd love to have your vote. I know all of us would. So we have, let's see, Chris, can you define your reasonable restrictions in quotes? Do you remember that statement?
So basically one of the big things that businesses are worried about, and we talked to, you know, over the course of the past couple of months, we've talked to high risk industries like cosmetology, food industry, industries that are going to have very personal contact with people on a daily, if not hourly basis. And the biggest thing that they were worried about when they opened back up was being sued. You know, somebody comes there, they get their hair done, or they come and they get a meal. 2 weeks later, they're sick and they're in the hospital, and all of a sudden they're facing a lawsuit. When we went into this, when we got out of the first 2 weeks, I remember Josh, when he released his 5-point plan to open the state back up, I had talked to him about how the state auditor's office could have worked with the governor's office on that. And one of the things we could have done from the perspective of the state auditor's office was initiate a special engagement audit to go into the county level and see if the counties had reasonable ways to protect businesses as they opened up. So is the business sanitary? Are they actually sanitizing their counters, for example? Are they wearing gloves when they're preparing food? Things that are going to minimize not only COVID, but any sort of biological transmission that could get someone sick. And if the counties could show me, as the state auditor, a reasonable management plan that they had in place to protect their businesses, to mitigate that liability for the businesses that were scared of being sued when they opened back up, boom, do it. And not only will they be able to do it that way, they now have a validated objective opinion from your government oversight officer of Washington State that their government in the county level can actually accomplish that. So again, the balance between the litigation, you know, a very litigious society these days is struck when you actually go in and you use the power of your government to show that these businesses can do it, and they can, and they, you know, they are. So that's what I mean by reasonable restrictions is, you know, a county that can certify that they're keeping people, you know, in a situation where they're not packing 20 people right on top of each other necessarily, and forcing biological contamination. That's just one example. And if we had done that earlier, I think most of the state would already be in phase 4.
That's a good point. Somebody specifically asked me to answer the question on what to do with veterans. And I was in DC 2 weeks ago meeting with the Republican Governors Association for my second meeting. And I had some time to walk down to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. And at that point, I reflected that just down the road, there's a place where you can go lay a wreath at the unknown soldier's tomb. And to me, I started thinking, well, every day we step over the unknown soldier on the streets of our state, meaning that we have so many veterans, 50% of them that are homeless are living unsheltered right now in Washington State, and our veterans hospitals are not giving the proper care that they should. So I look forward to working with the federal government on that level, but certainly doing far better than letting 50% of the homeless veterans live unsheltered. We need to do far better than that for men and women who have put their lives on the line for our very security. So, this is I don't know if you'll know this one, Matt, but how many trips to the Washington State Supreme Court did Rob McKenna make to ensure charter schools? I don't know.
Wow,
if you
it's a
would,
very, very specific question.
that's a very specific
Uh,
question. Is it
Yeah,
Rob
no,
McKenna?
I honestly, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, that's a challenged one.
But
But
it is
I'm
the
glad
right
that
of
we
the
have
Attorney
charter
General.
schools.
Oh, sure. It's the right of the Attorney General to argue cases in front of the Washington State Supreme Court. It's something I would be excited to do. It's something that is necessary to do. And I'm hoping we've got some vacancies on the Supreme Court this cycle. And I'm really hoping that we can fill those with good law, constitutional following justices. And it just shows, more importantly now than ever, how vital it is to get these people elected. We have a very hostile Supreme Court right now who does not believe overwhelmingly in the Constitution. And we need to get new justices elected to those courts. And a lot of times they're races that don't get much press. They don't get much attention. So please do your homework and vote for those. Don't just ignore those on the ballot. It's an important election year to change the makeup of the state Supreme Court.
Thanks, brother. That's a good answer. Hey, Leanna says, McClendon, love the idea of exposing and educating the kids on different trades. Right now, we can only do that via homeschool, so that's good. And then Shelly says, my dad voted for you, so that's awesome. Thank you so much. Mike says, Inslee knows you guys can't campaign with his dictates. That's true. Let me see. I keep on going down there. Kim Drob says, dream team. Thanks, Kim. Kim, we all appreciate that. I'm gonna go down. There's a lot of positive comments like, we voted for you. I love this. Recall Inslee. Gina says, hi, Matt.
Hey,
Andrew says, so do these large gatherings Inslee banned include riots? What do you? Maybe not.
Clearly not. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I don't want this to go to Marty's head, but Troy says, which is a gal, I believe, TROI, beard looks awesome, Marty. Yeah, we all have beard envy with Marty McClendon.
Thanks, Troy. It's a guy.
Like it. Oh, it is a guy?
Yeah.
That's funny. Joshua, if you're currently governor, how would you handle Mayor Durkin and the scheduled riot for tomorrow? Quick, decisive action. With that first night where they let them have 1 inch, they ended up take 6 city blocks. And I just think that is out of control. When Jenny Durkin pulled the Seattle police force out, that's immediately when I would, as governor, send in the state troopers, because 500 people in that area, they're there they have constitutional rights, and we need to defend those constitutional rights. And if the mayors aren't going to do it across the state, I will. Chris, what are your thoughts on that? You're down in the mix of it.
Yeah, I'll probably be working tomorrow. There are 2,000-pound concrete barriers, probably about 200 to 300 of them right now, surrounding the West Precinct of the Seattle Police Department. And you know, I would imagine that's because they probably want to take that precinct. And if they take that precinct, you know, let's just say it's going to be very bad. And you know, law enforcement's going to be in a very unique situation next year, and it's only going to go one of two ways. You have the Democrats on the defund movement, and you have the Republican Party on the defend movement. There are, in this state, there's 267 police agencies, probably, almost 100,000 now, not within the 5-figure amount of cops around this state. Are there going to be cops that make mistakes? Yes, there are. Are there cops that shouldn't be cops? I've worked with a couple. I've been doing this for 11 years, and they are no longer cops. But ultimately, there is this line, and it is between order and chaos. And the vast majority of this state still, believe it or not, wants that line maintained. And this is going to be a pivotal election for you to decide, do we want cops to be, let's say, retrained and maybe even refocused onto things we think are more important as a society? Or do we want to cut all of our police departments by 50%, cut agencies in like Seattle, cut internet crimes against children agencies, cops that are investigating child molesters and people trafficking in child pornography? Do we want to cut that, or do we want to preserve that? And do we want to hold those people accountable? I think this party wants to hold them accountable. And I think this year, people are going to step out, especially independent voters, and they're going to make that very clear.
Great answer.
The fundamental thing that all families, all people, all individuals want is to be safe. They want peace in their neighborhood. They want to be able to go to work without being mugged. They want to be able to drive the car without being attacked. They want to be able to raise their kids without being mandated. And when you remove and do these type of things, you make us less safe. You know, as government, that's the number one thing. Federal and state is like, make sure we have safe environments so we can go about our business, be left alone, raise our family. And so Chris's point, there's a fundamental difference between the right and the left this time. The Democrats are, beating the table, say defund the police, reparation, all these other things. Those are issues we can get into, but right now you can't. You have to say law and order is very important. To your point, Josh, people need to know they're safe in their communities, that they're not worried about going out.
I agree with you, Marty. I think that's more important now than ever. 4 months ago, 5 months ago, we still had problems with crime in our cities, and they were not good. Things were getting worse. And that was before the last month of lawlessness that we've seen. And our police needed more funding 4, 5, 6 months ago. And now they're talking about cutting it even further, as if that's going to help the crime situation in our cities. No, Chris, you know better than anybody. There's a flight out of the Seattle Police Department right now, and defunding isn't going to help that, is it? It's going to make the situation worse, and you're not going to attract any new police officers to the police force in Seattle. And I don't blame them, frankly. I wouldn't want to go take a job down there if my city council and my mayor didn't have my back. And it's a disaster. We need to be defending them right now and funding them right now.
Amen. Well, Jackie Watkins really appreciated. Great plan, Christopher. So, Matt, good question for you here from Sam Sandine. What can be done to support service industries during this lockdown? We run a dance studio, but according to the phases, it seems we cannot open for months. Any thoughts on that? Want me to repeat it?
Yeah, I mean, basically, what can we do to help small businesses?
Sure.
Well, from the Attorney General's standpoint, I would say stop suing them. Please, we have bigger issues to focus on than suing small businesses. And that's what Bob Ferguson loves to do. If he's not suing President Trump, he's suing small business owners in Washington state. They need our help more than ever. They need the help of government more than ever right now to get back on their feet. They don't need government filing punitive lawsuits against them or threatening legal action against them. So I know it's a tough situation, Sam. It's a tough situation for all business owners in this state who didn't make the cut on the governor's essential versus non-essential list. And I that's the key. We need to elect guys like the four of us who are in there and who get it, who know how to run a small business. Most of us have run businesses, and we would bring that to the offices that we hold. And with that, we bring compassion and empathy. Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson have never run a small business in their life. They don't know how to make payroll. They don't know how to put food on the table for their employees, and they don't understand the importance of staying open and providing jobs for people. And that's the problem when you get career politicians. What I love about the four of us is we're not career politicians. We're not. We've gone about our lives doing our own things, raising families, providing for our families. And that's the unique thing that we all bring to our offices. We're not in this to be career guys in government. That's the last thing Olympia needs is more career politicians. They need people in Olympia who empathize with the hardworking men and women of Washington. And that includes you, Sam, in your dance studio. You would have an attorney general who is friendly to you and not hostile to you if you elect me. So I just want to give you hope because we're going to get elected here, the four of us, and then there will be hope. It's not dark anymore when that happens.
Yeah, before we jump to Marty, Melody said, voted for all of you. Keep up the good work. Good time. Good stuff, huh, Marty?
It's awesome stuff. That's fantastic. No, just to Matt's point though, too, and to the business owner there, the difference between the Democrats who will, the first thing they will do this next session is put more burdens on small businesses that have been shut down, taxes, trying to make up this revenue shortfall. First thing we're going to do is make cuts stop spending and actually look at doing a tax holiday, allow businesses to get back on their feet, to actually rein in some of these regulations, to make it freer, less expensive to actually do business, to actually help them get back on their feet with their employees. So these are things that we're championing, which is opposite of what would happen. So to give hope to Matt's point, but there are ways we got to rein this back in. We got to allow these businesses to get back on their feet, get employees back to work, get our economy humming again. And that's how we solve these things, not the other way around. So,
amen. So maybe one last question here, because I know all of us are heading different directions. We got traffic we got to hit too. Christopher, I'm wondering if the defund the police statements by the Democrat-run states is because of their budget bankruptcies due to the expensive pensions that the government workers have. So maybe there is some bankruptcies, misappropriation of funds. I know that the unemployment agency in the state of Washington, the ESD gal, she's still there. They knew on May 1st that they're going to go bankrupt and didn't let the public know until June 30th, 2 months later. Pretty extraordinary. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Honestly, I think all of it's going to go back November 5th. And if you really watch, I mean, if you really even pay attention to Seattle, for example, the Seattle City Council is already starting to back off of their $76 million cut to the department. It's all, I hate to say this, but it's all a charade. It's all fun and games for them, because if they keep us in a situation of turmoil, if they keep people stressed, if they keep people at home, if they keep us separate from each other right now, they're going to keep us divided enough to not go out and vote and change all this. The last thing that people want, the last thing these people want is them coming to their doorstep. I mean, Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, just got gassed the other night because he decided to go down and riot with these people. They don't actually want that. This is all going to, miraculously, the police are going to get support from them on November 5th. But what you need to remember is they're being used as a puppet right now, essentially. And we can never, and it's not just police, the gentleman that owns the dance studio, the police, cosmetologists, anyone, we can never let anybody feel unessential ever again. Right. That is unacceptable. Right. And if 2020 is going to have any statement to it, it is going to be the year where people were made to feel unessential, and that is not right. And we will never let that happen with this team in charge.
Amen. I love that. And I love the unity for sure. Jerry Fitzgerald says, "You're all getting my vote and I'm promoting you," which is awesome. Danae said, "Voted and praying for you. Thank you all for stepping forward to fight for us." And I'm just going to take a minute for me to sign off, and then we'll go to Marty, Matt, and Chris will get the final word. But I really appreciate everyone getting on today. We are in this together. As long as we're bound together, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. Please go to freedforgovernor.com. We're looking for support here in the last week and a half. But I think, like Chris said, or is it Matt? I'm trying to remember, forgive me. But when 6 people let another 6 people let another 6 people know, we can contact all 4.5 million people within minutes in Washington state. So please go vote and vote for this team. We are the 4 Musketeers, or according to one of my opponents, I think we're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But I believe that we're dedicated to moving our state forward. We love our state. We're going there to serve, not a power play. But it's truly, I know, and I hear in your voices that this is a humanitarian effort to turn around what's happening. But Marty?
Yeah, I want to say thank you as well. A week and a half, obviously, most focus will be on the governor's race. Got to get Josh elected. Lieutenant Governor, we need financial support. We need to tell your friends. But look how we can work together on the campaign, but also in office. There's many things. This has not been done in a long, long time, if ever, in our state, where the citizens of Washington are put first, where the future of our kids are advocated for from an executive level, from a legislative level, from an audit level, from attorney general who will back you up, not going after private business, but actually supporting our businesses, supporting our citizens. This is really, really important. We need to have a long-term plan, and this is how you do it. We get us elected. So as Chris was saying, 7 people, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, get people to vote. Turnout is the key. And messaging comes through, obviously, finances, how we get on the radio and the TV. And the next week and a half are really, really important to launch us in the general with power and passion. But thank you all for your prayers. Thank you all for considering us and working with us. It's a team effort. we're going to win together, and we're going to make the state better for our kids and grandkids to come together. God bless you. Oh, and electmarty.com. That's right, electmarty.com.
What about you, Larkin?
I'll start with my website so that I don't forget. MattLarkinforAG.com. We need your help. We need your support. We need your donations. We need you to have a sign. We just need you to get involved. This election is too important to sit at home. And you can feel it. There's an energy in the air. People are fired up in this state. The sex ed initiative that's going to be on the ballot is going to get people voting who've never voted before. So
Right.
this could be, and this will be the year where we can change the guard in Olympia and win back some of these races, hopefully all 4 of our races, but at least some of our races. This is our year. And I'm excited about that, but I want you all to be excited about that too. It's too important. If we go another 4, 8, or 12 years without change or without rising up and doing something about it, it will be too late. I can't stress that enough. We're the frog in the pot, and the water is heating up, and we don't even realize it, but it's going to be boiling soon. And at that point, it is too late. We're going to blink, and we'll be California, where Republicans don't even have a voice anymore. But it's not too late now, and this cycle is the cycle. So please get involved. Please, for me specifically, please get involved in beating Bob Ferguson.
Yeah.
I've got a tough primary fight. It's not easy. We're not taking it for granted, but we're going to out hustle. And I'm out on the road right now, but I mean, we pulled over, so I'm parked here, but I'm headed to event after event after event. And we are going to out hustle the competition. We've got fundraising competition. We've got more volunteers than any of our opponents. And I'm excited to take the fight to Bob this fall. So please tell everybody you know to vote for Matt Larkin for AG and get us over the hump in about a week and a half. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. And really likes your ads on Fox News, by the way, Matt.
Thank you.
All right,
Dan?
Chris, last word, my friend.
So I'm at labaaudits.com. If you wanted to check out my website, I put all my ideas about what I plan on doing. I'm going to finish my last minute here with a quick story, though, to address an elephant in the room. Somebody mentioned earlier that they're still evaluating their options. And the elephant in the room is that this has been a very tough and at times toxic race in the primary because of the governor's race. I'm just going to tell you one story about an event that multiple governors were at that I personally observed, and I'm going to leave you with that. We all went to, well, most of us went to an event over in Cle Elum a couple weeks ago. At that event, multiple governor candidates showed up, multiple lieutenant governor, quite a few candidates showed up. But one thing I noticed was all of the supporters for the governors right now, they're tribal. They all have their own camps, and they literally had different corners of the park set up. And when the governor candidates got there, they went to their tribe, they went to their camp, and they talked to their constituents. One candidate got out of their car, put their signs down at their table, and immediately went up to possibly their most polar opposite constituents and said hello and introduced himself. And that was Josh. You know, you asked a question earlier about how are we going to win this thing? That 31 to 41, how are we going to get that 31 up to a 50.1? It's going to be somebody that's going to unite this party from August to November, and somebody that's going to be able to get rid of the tribes and make it one Republican tribe. And that is why I'm on this team. That is why this unity ticket works, because that guy is Josh Freed. So I hope you understand that this is a team effort, not just this team, all the way down the ticket this year.
That's right.
We need support. So that is, I just wanted to leave you with that.
I love you, Leba. What a good man. Your very kind
Right.
words. Yeah, we are in this together. And I'm proud to stand with you, gentlemen. And I'm looking forward to spend the whole day together tomorrow, going across our state. Bring your wings.
Looking forward to it. That's right.
See you then.
All right. Enjoy your evening. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you,
Bye,
everyone,
guys.
for
Guys.
joining.
Good night, everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
God bless. God bless.